But for me and the work in Washington, D.C., I mean, we've gotten things done. It's hard. I want to remind everybody we have a majority in 1/2 of 1/3 of government. That's not a huge majority. So as much as we feel passionately about wanting a lot of things, can't get everything we want all at once because it's not a huge majority. We have that U.S. House of Representatives, but we don't have the Senate. We don't control the White House. So there's still some work to do. But we ran off in November on issues that Americans cared about. People cared about the economy. People were struggling to pay bills. We always talked about gas prices and grocery prices. I mean, if you've tried to buy a new house or a new car, interest rates are still through the roof. People are still struggling. We saw people, especially in the military, which was a huge group of people here in the 2nd District, struggling, especially some of our junior enlisted people. So the economy is something that Republicans ran off of last year, and it was a winning issue. We ran off of community safety issues. I mean, raise your hand if you haven't had any safety issues, any break-ins, any car thefts, any violence that the police have been called. I mean, people, every neighborhood is touched by this, every single one. So I know our state Senate office, we had a shooting at the gas station across the street 2 years ago. So it is becoming more prevalent, and it's absolutely a result of some of the legislation we've put in that has been anti-law enforcement. So community safety was an issue that we ran on. And then we also ran on kids in schools. We saw that was a very popular issue and a very important issue in 21 with Governor Youngkin and the whole Parents Matter movement. We ran off of that issue too last year. And we ran off of national security and our country and our military and standing up for veterans. And especially in this district, that's a very important issue. So we talked about those issues every day. And my opponent didn't. She talked about really one issue and sprinkled a little bit of her January 6th committee work. And she didn't talk about issues that were important to voters. So that's, I think, an important reason why we won. Now, it wasn't a landslide victory. It was only a 3.4% victory, but we'll take it. We'll take it. I also want to mention we did get crushed, though, in absentee ballots. We almost lost because of the absentee ballots. In Virginia Beach alone, there were 17,000 absentee ballots submitted, and my opponent had 14,000 of them. I only had 3,000 of them. So when Governor Youngkin puts out this initiative about secure your vote, and you hear a lot of elected people and people on the ballot talking about absentee ballots, that issue is real. The Democrats have spent a few years really focused on that, at getting their low propensity voters, people that might not otherwise vote, signing them up for absentee ballots, following through if they turn them in, having things like drop boxes. We've got 45 days of early voting, which is too much in my opinion, but they've changed a lot of ways we conduct elections. So we need to change our mindset too and make sure that we're capitalizing on those rules. Those are the rules. We didn't vote for the rules, but those are the rules. So we have to play by the rules, especially in the absentee ballot department, and then we can get some of these seats back. But I want to talk a little bit about our commitment to America, which is what the GOP put out last year. We put it out early last fall. The speaker, future Speaker McCarthy, but now Speaker McCarthy, had talked to leadership, and we found really 4 columns of things that Americans cared about, and that's what we ran off of throughout the country, and that's what we've been focused on since we've been in D.C. So our commitment to America includes an economy that's strong, number 1, a nation that's safe, number 2, a government that's accountable, number 3, and number 4 is a future built on freedom. So we took that commitment to America, and depending on what part of the country you lived in, we put a lot of money behind ad campaigns. I know candidates that were running, we tried to adopt that as our message, and just to keep us all on the same sheet and all very focused on what we were going to do when we did take back the House. So now that when we won in November, when we took back the House and have that 5-seat majority, we had to get to work, right? Because that's what people are expecting now. People are watching what Republican leadership looks like. And if we lead well, if we perform well, then we're hoping that will help us in other elections like this November and especially next November. So that commitment to America we've slowly chipped away on, and those are some of the bills that I want to talk about with you guys, just to educate you. So the economy that's strong, that was the first thing and probably the most important thing that we ran off, again, because what happens in people's pocketbooks affects every single one of us. So the first bill we passed was H.R. 1, and that lowered it's Lower Energy Cost Act. And that specifically removed some of the permitting burdens, incentivized domestic energy production, really focused on the gas prices. I've been passing bills the past 2 years that have hurt the oil industry and hurt our ability to produce energy for our energy independence. So that's what we knocked out first, was how could we improve that so that we could lower those gas prices. 203 Democrats voted against that Lowering Your Energy Cost Act. It was a very partisan vote. We also passed a Reins In Act, which is congressional oversight. We saw Joe Biden doing a lot of executive orders coming out of the White House every other day, it seemed like. So the Reins In Act now requires Congress to have a voice, so that if he's going to do that, it has to pass through both branches of Congress. Now, a lot of these things we passed knowing that there's not a great chance that all these bills are going to pass the Democrat Senate and be signed by a Democrat president into law. But we're demonstrating where our priorities are, what Republican leadership looks like, so that when we can get the Senate back, when we can get the White House back, these are the things that we'll continue to push for. So the Reins In Act was important. We passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which wasn't a perfect bill. And I know a lot of you probably were paying attention to that bill and the amount of spending that it did cut, $6 trillion, and lowered that top line number back to 2022 budget levels. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Is there a lot of room for improvement? Yes. But we needed to get, there's a lot of different opinions, even within our own Republican caucus. So we had to work hard because we wanted that bill to pass. So we had to compromise a little more than I would have liked to have seen, but the bill did pass. We were able to cut some spending, and it's a step in the right direction. I want to emphasize that word, though, a step in the right direction. There's more work to do with cutting some of that spending. But that was what that specifically addressed. Recouping some of the COVID money, it restarted the student loan repayment, stopped funding for those new IRS agents, and it also protected Medicare and VA benefits, which was important. So that's really was our main bills that focused on the economy. We also focused on a nation that's safe. For us, we have held, through our Foreign Affairs Committee, hearings on the Afghanistan withdrawal. I know we recognize them today, but no one has been held accountable for that disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. So we are slowly working through that. We are becoming frustrated because we have asked for classified documents that they are, even when I'm reading them in a classified setting, they are still redacted. There are still lots and lots of black lined out sections. So we are working hard and putting a lot of pressure on getting to the bottom of who is to blame for that Afghanistan withdrawal and who can be held accountable. So that's one thing we'll continue to push for. Now, H.R. 2, which was the second bill that we passed, was securing the border, Secure the Border Act. That was important. There's not a person you talk to, and we take a lot of surveys, but the border issue is important. We're seeing increased rates of human trafficking, drug trafficking, just crime. I mean, record-breaking numbers of illegal immigrants coming across our borders. So that Secure the Border Act did really simple things. It finished the wall. It gave more money for Border Patrol. It gave those guys this raise. It incorporated some use of technology so that they could find those people that were crossing the border. I've been there twice, once in Arizona, once in Texas. And to see just on a day-to-day basis, how hard our Border Patrol is working, how short-staffed they are, what they're dealing with. And they're dealing with cartels who are well-funded, who have equipment that's amazing. Not only do they have top-of-the-line camouflage equipment, they're doing things like putting carpets in the bottom of their shoes, so they're not able to track even their footsteps. So it's the stories that you hear when you actually go there and you talk to the ranchers, you talk to law enforcement, you talk to Border Patrol, talk to families who are trying to live there. Something has to be done. The fact that the administration continues to ignore the issue, even though we push hard, we passed that bill, which, by the way, 211 Democrats voted against that bill, against your Secure the Border Act, for those really common sense steps to take to secure our border. Then there was a DC crime bill, which was really supportive of law enforcement. And this was an interesting bill because what it did was to maintain the mandatory minimums for people who committed crimes in the District of Columbia. Congress actually has some jurisdiction over the District of Columbia when the City Council can't agree on an issue. We passed that DC crime bill to make sure those mandatory minimums stayed in place. Now, that bill actually did pass the Senate, and Joe Biden said if that bill passed the Senate, he would sign it. So that is the first bill that he signed that came out of a Republican-led House. The Democrats are wising up to the fact that people are caring about community safety and that crime is touching all of us. So that was a success, and so that's another reason why we should continue to push for all of these items. We had a bill that expressed support for law enforcement and condemning efforts to defund the police. It was literally that. It was just a bill to express support for our law enforcement. 117 Democrats voted against that bill that said, nope, we're not going to support law enforcement. We're not going to prohibit defunding them. They actually voted no. So this is how extreme and radical of a group that we deal with on a daily basis up there. Probably one of the things I'm most proud about is the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act that we passed also to keep our country safe. It funds the military. It gave a 5.2% pay raise to our active duty, which is the highest pay raise in 20 years. So that is a long time coming. It's still not enough, especially when you consider inflation hovers right around 6%. Step in the right direction. The defense budget we gave the president what he asked for, which is a 3% raise from last year. Now again, considering inflation is 6, if you do the math, it's a little bit of a cut. It's not where it needs to be, I would say. But because we have threats out there that are so real from China. We get a lot of briefs on just some of the things that are happening in Southeast Asia. So we need to make sure that we're giving our military the ability to do war fighting, but also quality of life issues. For me, the NDAA, I was able to get in some amendments that focused on mental health. That was something that was important to me as a nurse practitioner, and just dealing with mental health, military mental health issues that we've seen in our district. We had the suicides on the George Washington, the suicides in Marmac, and those limited duty capacities. We got a brief from the Navy about how they had failed our sailors in the mental health category. So expanding how we give mental health, including our chaplain corps, including our corpsmen, mandating that we do some initial screening for these sailors who've taken out of their mission roles, looking at the length of time it takes to out-process people who are maybe on medical holds, and establishing a quality of life dashboard that included not only mental health, but healthcare, child development centers, spouse employment. So making sure that every unit is tracking some of these quality of life issues. So those things that were important to me that came out of a bill I was able to put in committee, which is the Sailor Standards of Care Act addressing mental health. We put some of those components in the NDAA, which was passed off the House floor. So that was a great victory, just for me personally, and a step in the right direction. And we're also focused on the government that's accountable. I'm sure that you are paying attention to some of the hearings that we are having. I do not sit on oversight committee, so I don't have the pleasure of being in the room sometimes when we are calling people to Congress and holding these hearings. But we have a select committee on the weaponization of government. We have between Comer and Jim Jordan, so there's some really great people up there that are fighting hard to make sure we're asking the right questions, having the right people before us, and getting all of our ducks in a row before we go forward with any other charges of these top officials. But I do sit on the oversight committee for the Veteran Affairs. I'm on Veteran Affairs committee, and I sit on oversight in that committee, so it's a subcommittee of VA. And it's important because people, and a lot of you probably in this room who are veterans who are receiving health care from the VA, we know it's not perfect, right? There's a lot of room for improvement. So being able to chair that committee where we're looking at things like how are we hiring providers, how are we firing bad providers that shouldn't be there, there's a lot of issues with electronic charting, incorporation, just even making appointments, how are we giving especially mental health care. So being a part of that oversight committee for VA specific issues is something that I really take a lot of pride in. And the last thing we're focused on is that future built on freedom. And one of the bills we passed was H.R. 5, which was Parents' Bill of Rights. Similar again to the Parents Matter legislation that you've seen come out of the state, that our Parents' Bill of Rights focus on transparency. So parents should be able to know what the school budget is, be able to know what guest speakers are coming to school, what type of annual training the teachers are receiving, what type of, is there any criminal activity at the school, what does that look like? What are their kids learning? So we passed that, and again, 203 Democrats voted against that Parents' Bill of Rights, which is pretty common sense, especially in this day and age. And then we also, in the Future Built on Freedom column, officially ended COVID. This, again, should have been probably a no-brainer, but we put that in writing and voted on it so that COVID was over. 197 Democrats voted against this, so they wanted to keep it going. We voted on a Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, which was really important to me. That was legislation, and to Karen Green all back. But I had championed that before I left the state senate, and then she took up the ball and had also worked on it last year. And neither of us were successful in passing that in Richmond. So we tried it on the federal level, and when you're in the majority, you can pass it. We passed it out of the House. We had Riley Gaines up there. We had a great panel with Speaker McCarthy. All the Republican women were there. We included a lot of college athletes and their parents. So So that was great, but 203 Democrats voted against that. So that very, again, common sense legislation. Then we had another bill, the last one I want to talk about is a bill denouncing socialism. Again, no brainer, right? Socialism, bad. Denouncing the horrors of socialism was the wording in the bill. Do you know we had 86 Democrats vote against that bill? 86. So that should give you, again, an idea of kind of where our fight's at up there. So I know there's a lot of passion about things that they want the new House majority to get done, and we are doing it. We are doing it slowly and best we can, but there's a real fight on our hands up there. So to be able to fight those guys and be able to win on a lot of occasions, again, even if it's just demonstrating what Republican leadership looks like, that's super important to us and for the country. So, but we've got more work to do. That's been kind of a summary of some of the big things we've worked on over the past eight months. We've got all of August recess where we're home, so I'm able to get out and talk to small businesses, go on some great tours of different places in the district, come to breakfast and give you all updates of what we're doing. We are throwing monthly coffee with the congresswoman, so on the dates I am home, we're going to different parts of the district, making sure that I'm available to meet people directly. We have greeted a lot of visitors up in DC. Please come visit if you're ever up there. We're happy to help with things like Capitol tours. We can even get you a White House tour if you're interested. We can get you some other tickets and things. So please come visit. But it's important to me to hear from you. I know this year we're laser focused on the General Assembly. That's where the fight's at right now. So I'll be back on the ballot next year. It's going to be a top tier race again, a top 5 race, just like it was last time. They're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink to try to take this seat back and then gloat about it. I mean, they've already, if you've been watching, they've already done 2 series of attack ads on me, and now I want to take away veteran benefits, which is about as far-fetched as you can get, but they've spent $600,000 already. They have a billboard, an attack billboard on the Eastern Shore. My face is all in gray, and I've got masking tape over my mouth, and my hair looks really good though in the ad, but it's aside, it's crazy. I've never had an attack billboard, so we have an attack billboard, and they've sent out several mail pieces that are attacking me already. So this is their play, right? It's already started. I'm not even on the ballot this year. I'm on the ballot next year. But you probably heard more attacking me than anybody else that's running for the General Assembly. They want this seat back bad. They're recruiting candidates to run against me. So it will be a fight. I'm excited for the fight. It was a fight last time, but it's a fight worth having. It's a fight for the country on a daily basis, and I am certainly proud and privileged to be in it. So thank you just for being here today, listening to my update. I'm happy to take a few questions from you guys. I know we have an out in about 10 minutes, but anyway, but happy to take a couple questions. Yes, I know you had one.
Yes, I'm intrigued by the sort of personality interactions for you as a new arrival in Congress. And so I have a list of 4 of your colleagues who haven't been there too much longer than you. 2 men and 2 women.
Yeah.
Can you tell me anything about your interactions with these people? What you think of them?
Yeah, so we have a great group of people up there at our conference, our Republican conference. There's a lot of personalities, as you can tell. So Bill has written down Chip Roy, Thomas Massey, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I certainly have. We all talk, right? We're all in the same conference. We conference together once a week. I generally will sit with a lot of veterans, or especially sometimes with my freshman group. So we don't have assigned seating in the U.S. House like we did in Richmond. We actually had seats that we voted at. The House is kind of a free-for-all. So we intermix. I sit on the same committee as Nancy Mace. She's on Armed Services Committee with me. She sits a couple seats down from me. And is a loud voice. Marjorie Taylor, and the women get together on our own too, so I certainly know Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene a little more than I know Chip and Thomas, but and Marjorie Taylor Greene she is so kind. She has been very nice to me. I have nothing bad or different to say about any of these people. They are on my team, right? They are my teammates. We all want the same things. We are all frustrated with the direction of the country. We just go about it. They represent different districts than I do. My district is purple. My district is R+3. Some of these guys have the luxury of being an R+ over 40, which we measure it in D and R. So if you're D+1, you're a little dumber. If you're R+1, so I'm R+3. So I'm just a little a little right of center, whereas I think Chip Roy is R plus 45 or something. I mean, he is, and these guys, Marjorie Taylor Greene too, so they have a luxury of representing a super conservative district. But they're on my team, they're my teammates. I'm proud to have them on my team. I think all voices should be heard, from the D plus, or the R plus 1 people to the R plus 50 people. So it's certainly a privilege to have them as loud voices. But I'll tell them you said hi. Thanks. So, yes, Robert.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the person who drew the furthest this morning to see you is from Suffolk, and that's Tom Russell, Naval Academy, and a former Navy pilot, test pilot.
Nice.
And there's some other fixed wings in the room.
Nice.
And in addition to
we need more naval aviators involved in politics. Thank you for driving so
time
far.
For
and thanks to the staff, you guys are running around delivering breakfast and drinks and food. Thank you. Yes, you're doing a great job.
Our one other mic's not working, so for questions, please come up here to the camera.
Or you can just talk loud. I can hear you.
Well, we're broadcasting live,
okay.
So it has.
Oh, gotcha.
This is Dr. Don Tabor. Don, if you come up here and talk right into the camera, that should do it.
Okay. I'll loan you the mic.
I know your focus is on legislation.
Yeah.
But my concern is the absolute lawlessness of a lot of the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
The Federal Firearms Act inspections aren't supposed to be recorded, but any of the dealers can tell you they routinely are photographing their records. Blatant violation of the law. The EPA finances lawsuits against itself. The EPA finances lawsuits against itself to bypass its own rulemaking process. So what can we do about the bureaucracy's just utter disregard for the law?
So if you see certain examples, like the ones you mentioned about photographing licenses for gun owners, that type of thing, I mean, please reach out to us. If it's a flagrant violation of the law, that's something that we should know, someone should know about. Don't just keep that to yourself. So I would say reach out, and we do a lot of liaisoning work with a lot of different federal agencies, from passports to IRS to Veteran Affairs. So if it's something that is, especially if you've seen it more than once, I mean, I don't know if it's one employee doing something wrong, but if it's something, a common practice that's being done at a business or institution, reach out, let us know that. As far as the lawlessness, that's a really big job of Congress, is oversight, right? Oversight of how the government is working. I don't think we've had any oversight over the past 2 years. As a matter of fact, they've weaponized government. We're seeing that with the GOJ, with the FBI. I mean, we could go on and on. And one thing we are doing in our Congress is trying to highlight that. I wanted to read some statistics about, holding that accountability is holding, or oversight is accountability, right? Holding the government accountable. We've held 631 hearings since we took over in January. 619 is the number of times Biden officials have testified in front of Congress. 917 is the number of oversight letters sent. So that's letters from members of Congress that were pointing out deficiencies in the government, kind of like what you mentioned. And then we've had 45 is the number of subpoenas that we've sent out to appear before Congress. So I think that 1 week, I know we had a record-breaking number of hearings, that no Congress had ever held that many before. So again, I don't sit on those specific committees, since I'm on Armed Services and Veteran Affairs. I'm also on Natural Resources, which is good for my district. But I certainly know it collectively, as a House majority, we are focused on accountability and oversight. So thank you for pointing that out, though. Yes, sir.
The 22nd, a number of countries are talking about dropping the American dollar. How is it going to affect us if it's true?
Well, I'd have to look into. I don't know the validity of that. If was that recent news? Or
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, I certainly hope that's not the case. But I'll look. I don't know just the story behind that, but I can.
We're talking about it.
Okay, well, I'll look into. I just haven't heard that, but I will look into that. That would not be a good step in the right direction. But I'm sorry, I'm getting away from the camera. But it goes back to our economy, right? We need to have that economy that's strong, or else we lose a lot of credibility. We've lost a lot of credibility in a lot of areas. I mean, I go back to blaming the Afghanistan withdrawal, and we look at where our standing on the world stage. and the embarrassment, but our economy is the same way. Well, we better change some things and enact some of the legislation that we are trying to get done so that we can build a stronger economy, so that we can be taken seriously on the world stage and maintain that value of the dollar. I'll say that. Anyway, yes, sir.
One of the biggest issues, as far as I'm concerned, in this country right now is guns. It's reached the point where you feel like you need to have a bulletproof vest and a helmet just to go to the grocery store. Or it's reaching the point where you need a bulletproof car to drive down the road. And I don't see anything positive being done about this.
Especially depending on where you live, right? I mean, we hear stories of shootings and crime in so many more cities and inner cities, and that are terrible. I would agree with you. I think what we've done to law enforcement, and I sat through that on the state Senate side, but for a couple of years, the laws we put in place that were damaging to our law enforcement community. We've seen the decline in the number of law enforcement officers that we have, in the recruiting challenges, and even though we've increased pay and we've tried to do other things, we tried to appreciate them and increase their pay, but they're still struggling. And I've heard time and time again, we don't see we don't see police driving around our neighborhoods like we used to. So we don't have the numbers. I've heard stories of people calling 911, how long it's taking, people saying, well, it's gonna be however many minutes, before we can get somebody there. This is a problem, and it's a problem because it stems back from COVID, back from 2020, just that summertime of riots where we then decided it was law enforcement's fault. And again, these were Democrat majorities that put a lot of that damaging legislation in place, getting rid of no-knock warrants, making them more liable for some of their actions. So we need to be mindful of what law enforcement needs, letting them know we have their back. That's why things like the DC crime bill that we passed out of the House, that again was signed by the president. The Democrats are figuring out that people care about community safety, but we've got to do a better job at supporting our law enforcement, and keeping violent criminals in jail where they need to be is one of the things we need to do. We've seen, especially in Virginia, them really lighten up so much of the sentencing and letting out people back on the streets who were dangerous, who were doing this. People don't have respect for the law. People who break the law don't have respect for the law. We have laws in place, but we better enforce them, and we better put laws in place that are protecting our law enforcement.
Diana Howard, and then Teresa's
Hi,
the last
Diana.
one.
Hi, how you doing? $31 trillion in debt, but we voted to get rid of the debt ceiling. When are we ever going to get the budget in check here?
Yeah, I am with you. I mean, I think in a perfect world, we do what we do in Virginia, right? We don't spend more than we take in. We do it in the Commonwealth. It's in our Constitution. It's amazing. I mean, I know Barry Knight's got his hands full right now trying to make that happen because Democrats are fighting tax refunds. They don't want to do anything to make Youngkin look good. But we can do it in Virginia, so why can't we do that on a federal level? And they just want to keep spending money. There's one kind of personality trait of Democrats. I think they spend without even thinking of the ramifications of what they're doing. And I agree with you. I mean, I work really hard to have a balanced budget in my own house and in my own checking account. And I care about my credit rating. I've been worried about my credit rating since I was 18. But I'm sure you heard about, they wanted to penalize people who had better credit ratings when they wanted to buy a house. So if you cared about your credit rating, you were going to pay more to buy a house compared to people who had worse credit ratings. That's their mentality. So it's changing a mentality. But I hear you, and we'll keep chipping away at that. But thank you. All right, last question.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
You're on.
A lot of people are worried that COVID is going to come back, so I'm glad you brought that up, that Biden is thinking about mandating masks again. This is kind of a rumor going around. Again, we never know what's really true. But you voted against pilots in private organizations to have their jobs renewed. And their concern, this is from another group, their concern is that if this comes back, are there provisions made, because a lot of pilots in private organizations have government contracts and they're forced to take the shot, let's say. So what are your point on that?
Thank you for asking. Thank you. So we voted a couple provisions about some of the COVID mandates, and I haven't heard anything about mask mandates coming back, but yes, we'll be watching for that. For example, the military, we voted on Armed Services Committee, I voted specifically to allow service members back in who had been discharged for not taking COVID injections. It's the military, it's very government funded, run by the government. When it comes to private industry, and I think back to COVID and what happened during COVID, and we saw big government telling private businesses what to do. And I had a big problem with that. I had a big problem, and we, on the state senate level, worked every day with small businesses who were saying, we have to shut our doors, we gotta kick people out who don't have masks, you know, we're people that, we have to show vaccine cards, this is ridiculous. Too much big government every day, and I don't need to tell this group, I don't think, about how awful that was to live through, feeling government in our lives. So when the government mandates a private business, which is the airlines, it specifically was for private airlines, when they have to mandate who they're hiring and who they're firing, that's too much big government. If I had a t-shirt I could wear on a daily basis, one of them would say, you know, no big government. I fight every day to keep government out of my life, your life, everyone's lives. I don't think it's the government's place to tell any private industry who they should hire and fire. Now, can they go back and hire those pilots? Yes. Can they? They can do that nowadays. But to tell a private business who they have to hire for whatever reason, I just think that's too much big government. So that is kind of when I look at why I make decisions. That's why I did that.
I think that's what it is. What's going to be done in case they try to bring it back.
I mean, you've got my, I mean, I was always a person that was, even for healthcare workers, that the COVID vaccine should be optional. No vaccine should ever be mandatory, ever. But I also have a problem with the government telling a private business who they have to hire and fire, so.
I appreciate you supporting the bill for the military. I'm a spouse.
Can't hear you, you have to go up, get on the mic.
All right, I think that was supposed to be the
Yeah,
last.
that was supposed to be the last.
Question. I actually had the same question, but I want to add to it. As a wife of a naval aviator, I appreciate that you supported bringing them back for using. But as you know, the majority of the pilots in the airline industry are reservists, former military. And I don't think they should be handled the same way as a private industry. I think they should be handled differently. There's so much pressure on them through public social media and all that stuff to fall in line. So if they're going to be controlling their bodily autonomy, are they also going to be controlling their rights to have abortion or, you know, any?
Yeah, well, I would stick with the same answer, yes, and I agree with you, but again, vaccines should never be mandatory, and government should never tell private industries who they should hire, or anything. They should never tell private businesses how to conduct their business. I want to keep government out of your lives, so.
Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you.
Congresswoman Jen Kiggans.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. We're trying up there, but we'll be back. All right, we'll be back. Thanks again, you guys. I appreciate it. Have a nice day.
Well, that was great.
Got a lot of speakers, Bill.
We have candidates first, I think. A 2-minute.
Karen Greenhall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, do you want to come up? You want to be first, Karen, and talk about your candidacy? Karen Greenhall. And if you'll all keep it to about 2 minutes, we'll be very grateful.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes?
That's him. He's old. He's not sure how much time he's got left.
I'm just kidding, because most of the people in this room remember when I wasn't comfortable speaking in front of crowds. In fact, someone said once that my voice would go up 3 octaves when I had to hold a microphone. So I think most of y'all know me, but I'm Delegate Karen Greenhall. I represent Virginia Beach in the Virginia House of Delegates. Finishing up my first term. I'll stand here where you can see me. You don't have to do those. Finishing up my first term, running for re-election in the 97th. If you don't have Jen, I know she's gone. Jen Kiggans is doing an event with me at Kelly's, and I have my campaign flyers, even though most of y'all know me. Gosh, I don't know where to start with you guys.
State budget.
Sorry?
State budget.
State budget, okay. I'm on the Finance Committee, and we've been called to Richmond Wednesday morning. The Senate and the House Finance Committees are going to get an update from the governor and the Appropriations Committee, which we have Barry Knight on. So come Wednesday morning, I know what's still on the table, but I don't know what the decisions are. I know the Republicans are holding out for doing tax rebates and getting, a bill that I introduced last year was to get rid of that 55-year age restriction for the military to not have their pensions taxed by the state. And we didn't get it passed, but I'll bring it back next year. But the governor actually put that in this budget, and it's still on the table on the Republican side. So when they're trying to get it, and if the governor can't get it through in his budget, I'll bring that back next session. So when I have an update, I'll be glad to share it with you, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Can we ask a question?
If they say you can.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask a question?
How about one?
Real quick. This morning when I looked at my news, it said that Fairfax was doing an experimental living wage that they were gonna do, which is completely bogus. And, I mean, that, if you wanna make people angry, start giving people living wages. So let them do it. Is that true?
Yeah.
So I don't know what Fairfax is doing. I keep my head down in my district and in Virginia Beach. I haven't read that this morning. But the whole concept of a living wage, it is very much out there, and the minimum wage has gotten so high, but most companies are having to pay more than what minimum wage is right now, because with inflation, I mean, our economy is totally skewed out of where it should be. So we need to get it straightened back out. But
Let her finish.
we even had, the thing is, with the minimum wage so high, and we're not even talking living wage, we're talking minimum wage, what they're paying now is we have no entry-level jobs. When I had my first business, I would hire kids that couldn't do well in high school, because I had a cabinet shop, manual labor, you can work hard, do well. They'd come in and, I'd try them in all the different, we brought in raw lumber, planed our own wood, and then finished our own and installed it. So it was every aspect. So try them out in different sections. Where do you like it? And we trained them there, and they learned a skill that they'd have for the rest of their lives. And most of them stayed with me for years. But those entry-level jobs are gone. And a bill was introduced this last session. People came to me and said, there was a bill introduced that would say if you were 21 or younger, companies could pay you less than minimum wage to help bring back those entry-level jobs. So the people coming to me were not the people who would get the jobs. It was people who were older and said, if you let them pay some people less, then they won't give us the hours that we have, and we could lose our jobs. So I see both sides of it, but the thing is we've made a mess. We've made a mess of things in Virginia, and you're right. It's a big problem that we're working on trying to correct.
Thank you very much. Who wants to go next? Candidates. Is there a candidate in the audience? Yes, please. Hop to it. Now for the report on chicken.
It's not chicken, it's an emu. It's an emu, buddy. It's an emu. Peter Bird.
2 minutes.
2 minutes? All right, so my name is Nicholas Olenek. I am running as an independent for the House of Delegates 96th District. You can find out a lot of my stance. I only got 2 minutes at my website, olenik.us. olenik.us. Any questions? I'll just get to that instead of rambling for 2 minutes. Anybody got a question? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Do you support Governor Youngkin's, it's the school model to keep the transgenders in their own bathroom based on their gender?
Repeat that.
Yeah, repeat.
The Governor Youngkin's transgender bathroom policy?
His model policy.
I don't think we should be supporting any child with a mental health disorder like that. We should get them the help they deserve instead of the bathrooms they request. So anything going on that dealing with a child and a lifelong decision such as that, I don't care what you do when you're 18 and up. But while you're a child and you're under the parents' control, the parents should not be able to do a life-changing surgery like that. If you are not for a child being able to get a face tattoo at such a young age, that is a life-changing surgery. You shouldn't be able to do any other life-changing surgery. We should offer them the mental health that they need to get through this phase in life and out on the other side. But once you're 18, they can do whatever the heck they want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In your view, can you tell us your philosophy on the actual role of government,
The
Tell me
role.
what you think the role of government is.
The role of government is to work for the people, not against the people. The role of government is to provide safety, commerce, and trade throughout. It is supposed to be there to protect, not hinder. It is there to be an ally in all of your struggles in life, to help you get through. It doesn't mean financially, it just means to help you live the best life you can live. Government should be small, it should be limited, and it shouldn't have the big paychecks that comes with the spots. Government should be for the people, by the people, of the people. That's why we need to cycle out everybody, so everybody's finally represented in the government. It should be a free source for the community to come and lead. It shouldn't be a dynastic rule of anybody, period, for a long period of time. Government is best when it is changed fresh like laundry and it leaves you alone. It should work in the background and not hinder your daily life.
And give us your name again.
Nicholas Olenek. My website is olenik.us. My last name.us.
Thank you, Mr. Olenek.
Thank you.
John Moss, he's running for something.
Yes. What is?
He's going to tell us.
He's going to tell us.
Well, it won't take 2 minutes. And I'll take questions after the meeting's adjourned. That way people can go about their beautiful day this Saturday. As many of you know who are listeners of the Carrie and Mike show, yesterday I did announce about 8:05 a.m. that I am going to run for the mayor of the city of Virginia Beach. November 2024. People always ask me what my philosophy is. I always say I identify as a Republican because I identify with the Republican creed. Because I think serving the people is about the values and your beliefs of what this country is about. And I think you heard Karen talk about it. I think you heard Jen talk about it. We founded our nation on the premise of securing our liberty and having a limited government to that purpose and no other. And government, certainly in Virginia Beach, isn't as limited government as what we send to Richmond. It certainly isn't as limited government as the people that we send to Congress. And I'm going to give people the opportunity to send a candidate to occupy the position of mayor to advocate for a government that is limited, that is affordable, sticks to the core functions, and listens to the people they serve as an employee. And that's what I commit to do. Thank you.
Thank you. That was perfect. And he'll take questions after the adjournment. Now, who else would like to speak? Very good. What is your name, my dear?
Virginia Passera, or Jenny Passera, Secretary.
Jenny Passera. Please come here. Thank you. Tell us what
You have petitions, Jenny?
Yes, I do have petitions.
You want to give them to me? I'll get them passed out right now or whenever.
Okay.
You tell me when. You want to do it after?
Yeah, let me
Okay.
do it afterwards.
All right. Okay.
So I'm going to hand around, okay, first off, I'm vice president from the Great Neck Civic League, and which is in Great Neck Estates, and we are fighting, our logo is to save the Virginia Beach wetlands. Right now, Bouchard Homes is trying to fill in 4 acres, 2 acres of that, or not 2 acres, but there's a creek and wetlands that runs through the land that he wants to build on, and we're trying to say no, because, and you'll see in the little photograph here, because we know from Asheville Park, there's other places in the city where the citizens had to pay $11 million out of our taxes to stop the flooding, and this needs to stop. City Council has promised us that they would stop building on top of water in Virginia Beach so that by 2040, we're not, flooded, looking like Florida or Louisiana, okay? Because we have a lot of water around here. So, anyway, So my petition today, if you want to, if you have your camera on your cell phone, of course, you can scan the QR code, which will take you right to the Facebook page. And if not, I also have written petitions that we can get for handwritten signatures. This is a picture of the wetlands that is off Great Neck Road. And that area, the water that comes in, this is a natural watershed for storm water. And so we already got past the Virginia Beach Planning Commission on August 8th. We won the vote 6-4 to stop the church from changing it from religious use only permit. They wanted to change it to residential, which is R10. And the Planning Commission said no, because they saw down the road what was going to happen. That was going to be the end for the developer to start building ground and to fill in this beautiful lake, which has a lot of history. People go there. There's even an outdoor sanctuary for people to go, plus let alone the habitat. The water does flow into Lake Conrad 1 and then goes into the Lynn Haven Rivers and then on to the Chesapeake Bay. Yes, I know that. So we are having a rally also next Saturday, and we invite everybody to come if they want to spread the news about this, because this affects the entire city of Virginia Beach, not just the Great Neck area.
So the people in charge of this decision are the planning?
No, it's the city council.
The city council?
Yes.
They can rezone it as they see fit?
Well, the lawyer for the developer, Bouchard Homes, put in an application to rezone the property from religious use, because it's currently owned by Wycliffe Church, and they're trying to sell half of their property because they say they need the money.
And that half is the wetlands?
Well, half of it is green space, which is another pot of money that they've already received from the federal government to maintain green space and stop the development. The other half, about an acre, is the wetlands. Yes. And you can see all of this if you go on Facebook, or even this will take you to, actually, we've got a website now. Sorry, I'm corrected. We just made a website. It'll tell you the whole history of Red Bridge. That's where the wetlands are. And about the rally that we're doing next Saturday at the Fisher's Neighborhood Kitchen, which is on the corner of First Colonial and Great Neck Road. Yes.
And you don't have to be in that district.
No.
Okay.
You don't even have to be in the state.
Okay.
I've got people signing everywhere. Yes.
Tony, can you come up? We can't hear you.
He wants you to
No,
come
up
up
here.
and speak. Can you come up and speak? I'm sorry, thank you.
Hey, Tony.
I'm over here, Tony, on the camera. Oh, sorry.
There's a lot of history behind this property. And Wendy Crutchfield,
Yes.
Wendy Crutchfield has done a phenomenal job of going back in time in the history to the point of when this property was even granted to Wycliffe Church and why. The other thing is too, so what I was going to say is, if you all want to learn more about this, because it's extremely important, you all know that I lived up in that area, and that waterway is imperative to keep the flooding at a reasonable level in the Great Neck Corridor, because as years have gone by in so many other areas that you all are familiar with, because of the lack of maintenance, areas that never flooded 20 years ago, 10 years ago, are flooding now. This is one of those areas. So when they get a good rain up there, it's a mess. Doing this would be devastating. One second. The other thing I want to add, so what I was going to say is, if you want to know all about this, go to Wendy Crutchfield's Facebook page. It's all right there. You can read all about it. Second thing I want to mention to you is Bashard Homes. And he will do exactly what he did at Bay Lake. The promises he made to the city, to the Bay Commission, that he never kept. And the sad part about it is the city did not hold him. So there's no doubt that they would be facing the same issues up there, which would even compound this issue even more. You had a question?
Yeah, does this have anything to do?
Can't hear you.
Does this have anything to do with the Wayne project? No?
So,
No.
which city councilman has this property in his or her district?
Chris Taylor.
Okay, but has he expressed any interest in supporting it?
He wants the process to play out, which is what's happening, and he wants the best for the citizens. So, and he wants the best for his constituents.
So he wants to stop this development?
Well, I can't speak for him, but I think that he will give us his support once he's heard all sides. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do. I'm in Ocean Park. We got you. Give me some of those petitions.
Yeah.
Tracy.
I wanted to ask because I know like they're on Bow Creek Road, they're changing that into a storage area for water, that golf course. If they're able to do this, can they go around the cities and just start using all this?
It'll set a major precedent.
Absolutely, yeah.
But, and this is why I wanted to say something this morning and reach out to all of you, because you all live in various areas of Virginia Beach. This affects all of Virginia Beach, because again, it's setting a major precedent. It's gotta be stopped. It's got to be stopped. I don't know about you all, but I have flood insurance on my homes, and I just got my bills this summer. They have gone up exponentially. It's getting ridiculous. And I'm not even in a flood zone. This is by choice because of the tables that we have that are so high here, the water tables. So just think if you're in a flood zone. So anyway, any other questions?
Okay, I'm gonna add to that, because this is funny, I'm on the flip side. My dad bought the house in Great Neck Estates back in 1974. I was 12 when we moved in. We do not have flood insurance. We've never had to have flood insurance because all the storm water comes into the Great Neck wetlands, goes into the Lynn Haven rivers, and so on. And Wendy Crutchfield also, her parents lived off the lake. So we've never had to have flood insurance. And my argument to the planning commission was, is Steve Bouchard going to guarantee me I'm not going to have flood insurance, in 5 or 10 years? And we have a lot of elderly, widowed, single, income people that live in the neighborhood, and the single mothers, because it's a very safe area. So, yes.
If you live in a zone and it becomes a flood zone because they close off the waterways, can you sue them for the damage to your home?
I don't know, but that's a really good question.
No.
Oh, is that, okay. I will find out though.
Who would you sue? City council?
The city, I guess.
I also think they're trying to move the green line. They're trying to do all this stuff. I think everybody, no matter where you stand politically, should get together and start fighting and unify against these developments.
We are with you, because the next,
Not go against the places like Great Neck, but
hopefully, God willing, we will stop this, but really, we need a referendum on the vote. I don't know if we'll be able to get it in this November or next November, but to absolutely no building on any type of water, period. If they don't have actual land in Virginia Beach, they can go somewhere else.
This is a very good message. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks to everyone. Do we have any brief announcements, like scheduled meetings, anything along that line?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do. John Moss, do you like to schedule on the podcast?
John.
And we also have a major battle going on collective bargaining. We're working in conjunction with Diana Howard. Can't hear you, Rob. You gotta go up to your mic. Sidebar.
And then get John to give that.
Thank you very much. Listen, I didn't come here to be insulted.
Where do you go?
So, this collective bargaining issue that's going on, we need to stop it. We need to stick a stake through its heart, and it's got to be done through city council. They're being pushed hard on this, so we've got to get something done about it. Next month, we will have both the mayor and the vice mayor here to discuss some of these issues. Now, the issue on they just voted on it. It's a dead issue now. What was it? 10-1, yeah, 10-1. It looks like they were going to discuss it, but we would still want to get their opinions on this. So we have a lot of important things coming up. We need the boots on the ground, and both Diana and with the Virginia Beach Tea Party and the Tidewater Liberty partners, we need help. We need more people involved. And so we've got some very important folks coming up. They're going to be on the podcast, which is every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. All you have to do is go to Facebook and you get it. John, you want to give us an overview of what's coming? You what?
Turn up the volume on that podcast.
We got it figured out.
Robert. Well, next Wednesday will be Councilman Chris Taylor. I think all of us would agree what a breath of fresh air Chris has been. He certainly didn't vote for the budget. He didn't vote for the festival subsidy. And he's really done and he didn't vote for the Amazon $22 million highway for $17 an hour jobs. So I think it'll really be nice to have him on next Wednesday, give him as a freshman council member, his perspective. And then on August 30th, we're having Linda Ramirez to talk about our city auditor, who always does a great job, and he's had some recently good audits about the money-losing convention center, the money-losing sportsplex, and some other issues which I'm sure the public want to listen. And then on September the 6th, I believe is Wednesday, is Vicki Manning will be on the podcast, and hopefully she'll be addressing what the school board is going to do to eliminate the current deficit where 1/3 of our students are reading below grade level, where 2/3 of our students are performing below math level, and so we are graduating students at a higher percentage rate who know less. So clearly that is something that we need to fix, and hopefully she'll also talk about the $724 million to build 3 schools at $900 a square foot that are being built at 50% greater footprint with no increase in student enrollment. So I know those are all things that she'll talk about, so please do tune in on Wednesday, September the 6th. Thank you so much.
It's amazing that we're able to have that kind of a success to graduate people who are behind at their grade level. Only in America. Hey.
Announcements, we're still doing announcements?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so on collective bargaining at our next Tea Party meeting, which is September 14th, we're going to have John Gorham. He is from the National Right to Work, and that's an organization that legally protects people that have been hurt by unions. So you can find out some of the problems that they have caused in public unions and what they're doing about it, and then learn why you shouldn't have one here.
And if you haven't renewed with the BBTP, I brought my receipt for it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is renewal for both the TLP and the Tea Party. So if you haven't done that, please do.
When?
Now. If you haven't done it, please do now. It was July.
Yeah.
Everybody's membership ended in July. You need to renew.
No, but repeat the meeting.
Oh, September 14th at 7 p.m. at the Masonic Lodge, 2849 Princess Anne Road.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Be there or be square.
Be there.
You have an announcement, sir?
Hello, y'all, and I just wanted to mention to all y'all and everybody, and for those that don't really know who I am, but I'm the most popular man in politics and government, and the most popular man in Virginia, and the most popular man in the Republican Party, Tea Party, America for Prosperity, and all them people, and my big sis, Karen Greenhall, she's going to win. And my name is Mike Marcellus Mitchell, and there's a girl right here that I went to school with back in 1982. She knows me by the name of Mr. Cool. But speaking of the name Mr. Cool, but I just wanted to mention that I was the one that told City Councilman Moss that he needed to run for mayor, because I'm sick and tired of Mayor Bobby Dyer lying to people how great Virginia Beach is, because it's really not, because it's like the sewer. And with Councilman Moss being the mayor, Virginia Beach will be great again.
Amen. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cool. If there are no further messages, oh, there are. No, that's all right. No, that's very good.
Hello, I'm Deanna Klein, and I just wanted to announce Patriots Rally in the Valley is October 5th through the 8th in Duxborough, Virginia. Duxborough, Virginia, I think it's just a little bit south of Floyd, Virginia. Patriots Rally in the Valley, so it's a statewide event. And there's going to be a whole bunch of speakers and a whole bunch of people there. I think I heard that last year it was about 2,000 Patriots, so all through the state of Virginia. Thank you. Excuse me? October, I just lost it. 5th through the 8th, but I think that most of the events are happening Friday, Saturday, the 6th and 7th of October in Duxborough, Virginia.
Do you have a website?
I do. Oh, I just lost it. Give me 1 second.
Let me take two.
Oh, hold this.
Yes.
There it is. Very nice. It's patriotsrallyinthevalley.com. patriotsrallyinthevalley.com. It's Kanawha Valley Arena Resort, Duxborough, Virginia, October 5th through the 8th.
Any further announcements from the crowd? Well,
Motion to adjourn.
Robert, do you have anything to say besides motion to adjourn?
Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
All in favor?
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you very much for coming.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's a good Treasurer, she's not here this morning. $12 a year. Okay, where's Bill? Hey, Bill. George got some money for you. You want to write down everything?
Sure.
Dude.
Am I the duty guy?
Today you are.
All right.
Here.
Let's see if I can find.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. Here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Here.
So, this is for what amount?
Tom.
Oh, this is a lot of money. It's a 1, 2, 3.
Bill Duke, right now. Okay.
12, and what? I think so. Yes, sir.
You sure?
No, I miscounted. It should be 7. Thank you. Thank you very much. So $12, and can I get your name?
What's the use now?
It's $1 a month.
Use now?
$1 a month.
Okay.
And say George. And that's 12 months.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. 20. I will give you change for 12 bucks. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, $8 for the donation.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, I know.
Let me interrupt one more time. We don't know where that June 47 days late.
It is the national and state.
You were like, you had one of the last I'll just stand off.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Easy to make your change.
Where have you been?
I'm sorry about the drive.
And I literally
Years ago.
Yes.
Right where Dave Westmore says, when people say I'm well-rounded and down to earth. You came up with it.
Oh, did I?
Yes. No, they're not. I will when I go out, but I'm not. No, you went out Sunday, all the time for years, and I don't want to. Probably should have said.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to do
Well, I
has never been asked I'm sorry.
They want to make me and there's one guy who represents
I go back to Jim. I just wanted to do club.
I know, but he can.
That's right. With the state.
What is that?
Well, then
We've got issues like that with Elbow Road and stuff, and most people go up to guys that are built more. So now they've put more piping in to help it. But I've never seen spots like it flooded.
I know.
Well,
It's my mind. I mean, they're
And they're building it
I know.
area they can find. So we're not, on the one hand, we're saying we're flood concerned, but we're not doing it. The actions don't match.
you know, we need to tell everybody, talk about it, that there's no alternative, there's no hope. In the end, we're all going to have to retreat. The money that's going up, the ground is sinking away. Some people say, well, we're prolonging now. But are you going to
more cement? That's what they're doing, they're asking for cement. They get what are called BMPs, where they have drainage right, but they only meet the criteria set by the government. No. Best management practices, and they build these big things so that they can to take the catchment of water. Problem is, by law, they only bill goes to the specs that the government requires. They don't go beyond that. So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a cancer.
It is. That's what it's about.
It's not enough to
They never did anything ever.
I'd say eventually we're going to have to who knows? All bets are off. Who knows what's going
No, you're right.
Really is.
Something's got to give.
That's a set.
It's hard, and the only thing that works
I have no idea what that means. Oh, okay, yeah.
Tammany people started going to school from home.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Healthcare,
That is
telehealth. We brought that up over and over and over, and nobody wanted to hear about but it depends also on.
Well, yeah, the pain will get fat enough. It will.
So, more power.